Lina had not cried in 3 years, not even when her father left one winter morning and never came back. But tonight, with her tiny tooth lying under her pillow, she wept silently into her blanket. Her mother had told her that the tooth mouse would visit in the night, slipping in with quiet paws to carry the tooth away and leave behind a coin. Lina didn't believe in coins or mice with tiny satchels. What she wanted was something else, her father's return. That wish pressed so hard against her chest that she almost forgot to breathe. She whispered into the darkness, "If you are real, tooth mouse, don't bring me money. Bring me Papa." And with that prayer, sleep pulled her under. The main conflict. The tooth mouse had lived for centuries in the shadowy corners of children's rooms, creeping silently and unnoticed. His task was simple: collect the teeth, guard their secrets, and leave behind tokens to keep the legend alive. But when he slipped into Lina's room that night, he froze. The tooth glowed faintly under the pillow. This was not unusual. Children's teeth often carried soft echoes of memory, but the glow here was brighter, sharper, as if the tooth itself were burning with longing. The mouse touched it, and a flood of images struck him. A father's laughter, deep and warm. The clatter of wooden blocks on the floor. The soft promise, "I'll always be here." Then, silence, a slammed door, and the empty ache that never healed. The mouse trembled. He had always told himself he was a collector, not a healer. Yet something in Lina's wish clung to him like cobweb threads. He stuffed the tooth into his satchel, but instead of leaving a coin, he hesitated. His tiny claw hovered over her pillow. He whispered back, almost against his own will, "Sometimes fathers get lost in the dark. But maybe I can find him." The girl stirred in her sleep, and her tear-streaked face softened. The journey begins. The tooth mouse returned to his hidden burrow beneath the floorboards, where shelves of children's teeth glittered like stars in jars. Each tooth held memories, hopes, and fragments of love. He placed Lina's tooth at the center, and its glow lit the cavern like a lantern. He remembered the old law: the mouse must never interfere with human fate. His ancestors had repeated it endlessly. But as he watched the glow pulse, he felt the stir of rebellion. "I will break the law," he muttered. For her. That night he set off across the sleeping city. He carried the tooth like a compass, following its pull. It led him through alleys, across rooftops, and finally to the docks, where the salty air stung his whiskers. There, slumped against a stack of crates, was a man with Lina's eyes. Her father. But this was no joyful reunion. The man's clothes were ragged, his breath heavy with drink. He muttered to himself, gripping a bottle as though it were the only anchor keeping him from sinking. The mouse hesitated. To lead Lina's father home would mean dragging her into a storm of pain. Was that kindness, or cruelty? Internal conflict. The mouse crouched in the shadows, gnawed by doubt. He thought of his own story, one he rarely let himself remember. Long ago, before he had been the tooth mouse, he had been a boy. A lonely boy who prayed to the stars for someone to hear him. When no one came, he made a bargain he didn't understand. He was given eternal life, but in the body of a mouse, forever carrying the weight of children's lost teeth, never belonging anywhere. The rule had been clear: do the work, never intervene. It was punishment and duty in one. And yet, had he been carrying out this work all these years simply to avoid facing his own loss? Perhaps Lina's desperate hope cracked something inside him. Perhaps helping her could also free him. He stepped closer to the man, his claws scratching softly against the wood. The father lifted his head and blinked at the sight of a small mouse with bright, intelligent eyes. What are you?" the man mumbled. The mouse spoke, though his voice was barely more than a whisper. "Your daughter still waits for you." The man froze, the words cutting through his stupor like cold water. The twist. The father stumbled back, shaking his head. "I can't go back. I can't face her. She deserves better than me." The mouse's heart twisted. He had imagined this moment differently, a reunion sealed by tears and apologies. But the reality was rawer, crueler. Some humans did not want to be saved. Lina's tooth burned in the satchel. The mouse realized the truth, it wasn't only a beacon. It was a choice. A child's tooth carried innocence and belief had power. With enough of it, he could alter fate itself. He could force the father to return home, to hold his daughter again. But should he? If the father returned unwilling, Lina would taste disappointment every day. If the mouse withheld him, Lina would never stop aching. Either path promised pain. The mouse's whiskers quivered. He thought again of his own lost childhood. What would he have wanted? He made his choice. The return. At dawn, Lina awoke to find no coin beneath her pillow. Instead, she found a single white feather, soft and glowing faintly. Confused, she clutched it to her chest. She thought maybe she had dreamed it all. But later that morning, there was a knock on the door. Her father stood there. He looked smaller than she remembered, thinner, his eyes ringed with guilt. But he was there. He knelt in the doorway, tears sliding down his cheeks. "I don't deserve you," he whispered. Lina's heart leapt and broke at the same time. She wanted to run into his arms, but she also remembered the nights of silence, the years of waiting. Her small hands shook. "Why did you leave?" she asked. The father could not answer. He only wept. Behind the wall, unseen, the tooth mouse watched. He knew the reunion would not be perfect, but it was real. Perhaps Lina would forgive, perhaps she would not. But at least now, the choice belonged to her, not to the shadows. Conclusion, the intriguing ending. That night, Lina placed the glowing feather under her pillow. She whispered again into the dark, "Thank you, tooth mouse." In his burrow, the mouse felt the feather vanish into his collection. He sat among the shelves of teeth and memories, and for the first time in centuries, he allowed himself to cry. Maybe he had broken the law. Maybe he had changed too much. But he had also given a child the chance to face truth instead of silence. He wondered, if he helped enough children confront what they feared most, would his own curse one day lift? Could he ever be a boy again, free to dream instead of skulk in the dark? The question lingered, unanswered. And somewhere in the city, another child was whispering a wish into the night, sliding a tooth beneath a pillow, hoping the tooth mouse would come.